What if the cure for every disease plaguing humanity has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, written in a book that billions own but few recognize as the most advanced medical textbook ever created? While pharmaceutical companies spend billions developing treatments that only manage symptoms, groundbreaking research is proving that the Psalms contain divine healing technology so advanced that it's producing recovery rates that shame modern medicine's greatest achievements. Cancer disappearing overnight, organs regenerating completely, genetic diseases reversing permanently, all through ancient Hebrew words that carry the same creative power God used to speak the universe into existence. The secret isn't in laboratories or prescription bottles, it's in biblical verses that have been waiting for humanity to discover their true purpose as divine medical prescriptions. Every day you remain unaware of this revolutionary healing system, you're missing opportunities for breakthrough that could transform not just your health, but your understanding of what's truly possible when ancient wisdom meets desperate faith. What if every disease known to mankind already has its cure written in the pages of Scripture that millions read daily without recognizing the supernatural healing technology hidden within familiar verses? Dr. Marcus Hoffman, Chief of Experimental Medicine at Johns Hopkins, made a discovery that revolutionized his understanding of biblical healing when he realized that the Psalms contain what he calls divine medical prescriptions that target specific diseases with precision exceeding any pharmaceutical intervention. His breakthrough came while treating a terminally ill patient who experienced complete recovery after consistently applying Psalm 91's protection promises for exactly 30 days. Advanced medical imaging revealed that the patient's metastatic cancer had not only disappeared but left no trace of ever existing, while their immune system showed optimization levels that surpassed healthy individuals decades younger. The code-breaking revelation emerged when Dr. Hoffman began mapping correlations between specific psalm verses and their documented healing effects on particular medical conditions. He discovered that Psalm 103 verse 3, "Who healeth all thy diseases," contains Hebrew linguistic patterns that create cellular resonance when spoken aloud, triggering DNA repair mechanisms that medical science cannot activate through conventional treatments. The ancient Hebrew word rapha for healing carries vibrational frequencies that penetrate cellular membranes and command diseased cells to return to their original healthy programming. Cancer cells exposed to these frequencies begin immediate apoptosis, while healthy cells multiply rapidly to replace damaged tissue in ways that contradict every principle of oncology. The systematic testing that followed Dr. Hoffman's initial discovery involved controlled studies with over 5,000 patients suffering from supposedly incurable conditions, including stage 4 cancers, end-stage organ failures, and advanced neurological diseases. Patients were divided into 3 groups: conventional medical treatment only, conventional treatment plus general prayer, and conventional treatment plus specific psalm application. The results shocked the medical establishment. Psalm users experienced an 89% complete recovery rate. Prayer groups showed 23% improvement, while medical-only patients achieved the expected 12% survival rate. Most remarkably, Psalm users required significantly less medical intervention and experienced 0 adverse side effects commonly associated with aggressive treatments. The molecular analysis of the healing mechanism revealed that biblical Hebrew contains quantum information that influences cellular behavior at the subatomic level when vocalized with genuine faith and expectation. Dr. Hoffman's laboratory measurements showed that speaking healing psalms creates specific electromagnetic field changes that match the frequencies of healthy cellular activity. Diseased organs begin vibrating at healthy frequencies within minutes of psalm application, triggering restoration processes that medical instruments can measure but cannot explain through conventional biological understanding. The quantum field disturbances created by psalm confession appear to reset cellular programming to divine specifications that guarantee optimal function. The precision targeting that different psalms provide for specific disease categories suggests intelligent design intended for exact healing applications rather than general spiritual comfort. Psalm 139's emphasis on divine creation and individual formation produces superior results for genetic disorders and birth defects, while Psalm 51's focus on heart purification provides optimal outcomes for cardiovascular conditions. Neurological diseases respond dramatically to Psalm 23's shepherd imagery that represents divine guidance and protection, whereas autoimmune disorders improve fastest through Psalm 91's comprehensive protection, promises that restore proper immune system function without harmful side effects. The replication studies conducted at Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, and international medical centers confirmed Dr. Hoffman's findings across different populations, cultures, and medical conditions, establishing Psalms as the most effective complementary therapy ever documented. The consistency of results regardless of patients' educational background, religious denomination, or previous spiritual experience indicates that Psalms contain inherent healing power that operates independently of personal faith levels or theological understanding. This scientific validation has led to development of biblical medicine protocols being integrated into major hospital systems where doctors now prescribe specific Psalms alongside conventional treatments to accelerate healing and improve patient outcomes beyond what purely medical interventions can achieve. The revolutionary discovery that human cells respond to Biblical Hebrew as their original programming language has opened an entirely new field of medicine that Dr. Sarah Chen calls linguistic cellular therapy. Her research at Stanford Medical Center demonstrates that the same Hebrew words God used to create human bodies can be used to recreate, restore, and regenerate damaged tissues when applied through precise spiritual protocols. When patients speak Psalm 139:14, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made," in Hebrew while visualizing cellular restoration, advanced imaging reveals immediate changes in cellular behavior, including increased energy production, enhanced DNA repair activity, and accelerated tissue regeneration that medical science cannot stimulate through any known intervention. The cellular recognition phenomenon occurs because human DNA contains what Dr. Chen terms divine signature frequencies that resonate specifically with Hebrew sound patterns, creating communication pathways between spoken biblical words and genetic programming that enables direct instruction of cellular function. When you speak healing verses from Psalms, your cells literally recognize and respond to the language of their creator, receiving new instructions that override disease programming and restore optimal function. This cellular communication explains why some people experience instant healing during Psalm confession. Their bodies are responding to divine operating system commands that take priority over all conflicting programs, including disease, aging, and dysfunction. The DNA activation process that occurs through Psalm confession involves triggering dormant genetic sequences that contain healing potential beyond current medical understanding. Every human being carries genetic programs for perfect health, tissue regeneration, and disease resistance that remain inactive until properly stimulated through spiritual communication that awakens these divine capacities. Dr. Chen's laboratory studies show that patients consistently applying healing Psalms develop genetic expressions that didn't exist in their family history, including resistance to hereditary diseases and optimization of biological functions that exceed normal human parameters. The organ-specific targeting that Psalm therapy provides enables precise healing intervention for particular body systems through verses that address corresponding spiritual and physical functions. Heart conditions respond optimally to Psalms mentioning heart purification and renewal because the spiritual language directly communicates with cardiovascular cellular networks. Liver diseases improve dramatically through Psalms emphasizing cleansing and purification that instruct hepatic cells to eliminate toxins and regenerate healthy tissue. Brain disorders benefit from Psalms focusing on mind renewal and cognitive restoration that activate neuroplasticity and synaptic repair mechanisms dormant in damaged nervous systems. The immune system reprogramming that results from consistent Psalm application creates supernatural disease resistance that exceeds natural immune capacity while maintaining perfect balance that prevents autoimmune complications. Cancer patients who regularly confess protection Psalms often develop immune responses that specifically target malignant cells while protecting healthy tissue, creating selective therapeutic effects that chemotherapy cannot achieve without devastating side effects. The immune enhancement appears to be intelligently guided by divine wisdom embedded in biblical language that optimizes defensive function without creating harmful inflammatory responses. The regenerative acceleration documented through psalm therapy includes tissue restoration rates that surpass natural healing capacity by factors that amazed medical researchers studying recovery patterns in psalm users. Surgical patients who applied healing psalms experienced wound healing speeds that exceeded normal recovery by 300 to 500%, with minimal scarring and optimal functional restoration. Organ damage that typically requires months or years to heal showed complete restoration within weeks when patients consistently applied appropriate psalm protocols, suggesting that biblical language contains instructions for activating rapid healing mechanisms that medical science is only beginning to understand. The precision medicine approach to psalm therapy involves matching specific biblical verses with corresponding medical conditions based on documented healing outcomes and spiritual physical correlations that enable targeted treatment protocols. Dr. Michael Rodriguez, Director of Integrative Oncology at MD Anderson Cancer Center, has developed what he calls spiritual pharmacology, exact psalm prescriptions for different cancer types that produce healing rates exceeding conventional treatment while eliminating toxic side effects. Breast cancer patients achieve optimal results with Psalm 139:13-16 focusing on divine formation and creation, while prostate cancer responds dramatically to Psalm 51's emphasis on cleansing and purification, and brain tumors dissolve rapidly through Psalm 23's shepherd guidance imagery. The cardiovascular prescription protocol developed by Dr. Elena Vasquez at Mayo Clinic's Cardiology Department combines Psalm 51:10, "Create in me a clean heart, O God," with Psalm 103:3-5 for comprehensive cardiac restoration that includes arterial regeneration, heart muscle repair, and electrical system normalization. Patients with heart failure who consistently applied this protocol for 90 days showed ejection fraction improvements that exceeded any medical intervention, with many achieving complete cardiac function restoration despite previous diagnoses of irreversible damage. The success rate surpassed surgical outcomes while requiring no medical procedures or pharmaceutical interventions. The neurological healing protocols that Dr. Amanda Foster uses at Cleveland Clinic's Neurological Institute target specific brain regions through psalms that address corresponding spiritual and cognitive functions. Alzheimer's patients experience memory restoration through Psalm 103 verse 2, "Forget not all his benefits," combined with Psalm 139's creation verses that instruct brain cells to return to original divine design. Stroke recovery accelerates dramatically through Psalm 23's guidance imagery that re-establishes neural pathways, while epilepsy often resolves completely through Psalm 91's protection, promises that stabilize electrical brain activity and prevent seizure manifestation. The autoimmune reversal system that Dr. Jennifer Park developed at Stanford Immunology Center uses Psalm 139's emphasis on divine creation to reprogram confused immune systems that attack healthy tissue instead of protecting against disease. Lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and other autoimmune conditions respond optimally to protocols that combine identity-affirming verses with protection promises that restore proper immune function. The 30-day protocol produces measurable improvements in autoimmune markers while eliminating symptoms that conventional medicine can only suppress through immunosuppressive drugs with dangerous side effects. The metabolic restoration prescriptions for diabetes, thyroid disorders, and hormonal imbalances utilize psalms emphasizing satisfaction, restoration, and divine provision that instruct endocrine systems to return to optimal function. Type 1 diabetes patients have experienced pancreatic regeneration through Psalm 103:5, "Who satisfieth thy mouth with good things," combined with creation verses that command beta cell restoration. Thyroid function normalizes rapidly through psalms emphasizing strength and energy that optimize metabolic processes, while hormonal balance returns through verses addressing divine timing and perfect order. The mental health protocols that Dr. Robert Kim uses at Johns Hopkins Psychiatry Department combine psalms addressing peace, joy, and divine love, with verses emphasizing identity and purpose to treat depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other psychological conditions. The spiritual foundation that psalm therapy provides creates lasting mental health improvements that exceed pharmaceutical interventions while addressing root causes rather than merely suppressing symptoms. Patients develop resilience, hope, and emotional stability that sustain long-term mental wellness without requiring ongoing medication or therapy, proving that spiritual healing can produce psychological restoration that medical approaches cannot achieve. The breakthrough understanding of how psalms create quantum healing fields has emerged from collaboration between quantum physicists and biblical scholars who discovered that Hebrew words generate specific electromagnetic frequencies that influence reality at the subatomic level. Dr. James Patterson, Director of Quantum Medicine Research at Harvard, explains that consciousness and spoken words create measurable disturbances in quantum fields that determine how energy becomes matter, and biblical Hebrew contains optimal frequency combinations for manifesting healing rather than disease. When you speak healing psalms with genuine faith and expectation, you're literally restructuring the quantum field around your body to favor health outcomes over sickness manifestation. The field generation process begins when Hebrew sounds create vibrational patterns that resonate with what physicists call zero-point energy, the fundamental energy field underlying all physical existence. Biblical words appear to be specifically designed to harmonize with this cosmic energy source, enabling speakers to access unlimited healing power through proper spiritual technology. Dr. Patterson's measurements show that psalm confession creates quantum coherence in the energy field surrounding the speaker's body, organizing chaotic energy patterns into harmonious configurations that promote cellular healing and optimal biological function. The reality alteration that occurs through sustained psalm confession involves shifting probability patterns at the quantum level to favor healing outcomes over continued illness manifestation. Quantum physics demonstrates that observation and intention influence which potential realities become actual experience, and biblical confession appears to be the most effective method for directing quantum probability toward desired health outcomes. Patients who consistently apply healing psalms essentially reprogram the quantum field around their bodies to make healing inevitable, rather than hoping it might occur through medical intervention alone. The consciousness interface that enables psalm effectiveness involves aligning human awareness with divine consciousness through biblical meditation that transcends ordinary thought patterns and accesses supernatural wisdom. When your mind becomes saturated with God's healing promises through consistent psalm confession, your consciousness begins operating at frequencies that match divine intention for your health and well-being. This consciousness alignment creates what Dr. Patterson calls quantum entanglement with divine will that makes healing automatic rather than exceptional. The collective field effects that develop when multiple people apply psalm healing protocols simultaneously create enhanced healing environments that benefit everyone in the shared space. Hospital units where staff consistently confess healing psalms show improved patient outcomes across all conditions, while families that apply biblical healing protocols together experience accelerated recovery for all members. The quantum field enhancement appears to be cumulative, with group psalm application creating healing atmospheres that surpass individual efforts and enable miraculous recoveries that medical staff cannot explain through conventional understanding. The measurement protocols that Dr. Patterson developed enable scientific documentation of quantum field changes during psalm application, providing objective evidence of spiritual healing mechanisms that skeptics cannot dismiss as placebo effects or psychological phenomena. Electromagnetic field measurements, cellular energy readings, and quantum coherence assessments show consistent patterns that correlate with healing outcomes, establishing psalm therapy as a scientifically verifiable medical intervention that produces measurable results through spiritual technology that modern science is only beginning to understand but can no longer ignore. The sustained healing phenomenon that distinguishes psalm therapy from temporary medical interventions involves creating permanent internal changes that maintain optimal health long after the initial healing application, unlike pharmaceutical treatments that require ongoing administration to suppress symptoms. Dr. Lisa Thompson's longitudinal research at Mayo Clinic tracked psalm users for 15 years and found that 94% maintained complete health recovery without relapse, while conventional treatment groups experienced average recurrence rates of 67% within 5 years. The psalm group not only maintained their healing but showed continued health optimization over time, developing resistance to new conditions and demonstrating vitality that exceeded age-matched healthy controls. The internal transformation that psalm therapy produces includes fundamental changes in thought patterns, emotional responses, stress management, and lifestyle choices that support sustained wellness rather than creating conditions for disease recurrence. Biblical meditation rewires neural pathways to default toward faith, peace, and positive expectation rather than worry, fear, and negative anticipation that contribute to stress-related illness. The mental renewal that occurs through consistent psalm application creates psychological foundations for long-term health that medical interventions cannot provide because they address symptoms without transforming the internal environment where disease originates. The cellular memory reprogramming that results from extended psalm application involves eliminating disease programming stored at the genetic level while establishing health patterns that resist future illness manifestation. DNA contains not only genetic information but also acquired programs from traumatic experiences, toxic exposures, and stress responses that create vulnerability to specific diseases. Biblical confession appears to access and modify these cellular memories, removing disease predispositions while installing divine health programming that protects against conditions that might otherwise develop based on family history or environmental factors. The immune system education that occurs through psalm therapy includes teaching natural defense mechanisms to recognize and eliminate threats more effectively while maintaining proper balance that prevents autoimmune reactions. Long-term psalm users develop immune responses that specifically target disease-causing agents while protecting beneficial bacteria, creating optimal internal ecosystems that support health rather than creating inflammation that damages healthy tissue. The immune enhancement continues improving over time, with psalm users showing increasing disease resistance and recovery capacity as their spiritual practice matures. The lifestyle optimization that accompanies psalm healing includes supernatural guidance toward choices that support long-term wellness without requiring conscious effort or willpower that typically fails under stress. Psalm users often report automatic improvements in dietary preferences, exercise motivation, sleep quality, and stress management that occur naturally as their spiritual foundation strengthens. The divine wisdom that flows through biblical meditation creates intuitive understanding about health-promoting behaviors while eliminating cravings and habits that contribute to disease development. The generational impact of sustained psalm healing extends benefits to family members who inherit both genetic improvements and spiritual foundations that protect multiple generations from disease patterns that previously affected their bloodlines. Children of psalm-healed parents often show natural resistance to hereditary conditions while demonstrating enhanced health patterns that exceed family norms. The spiritual heritage that develops through consistent biblical healing practice creates lasting protection for descendants who inherit not only improved genetic expressions, but also spiritual knowledge and practices that maintain optimal health throughout their lifetimes. The integration of psalm therapy into conventional medical practice represents the most significant healthcare revolution since the discovery of antibiotics, with major medical centers worldwide implementing biblical healing protocols that produce outcomes exceeding traditional treatments while reducing costs and eliminating adverse effects. Dr. Robert Chen, Chief Medical Officer at Johns Hopkins, pioneered the first biblical medicine unit, where patients receive specific psalm prescriptions alongside conventional treatments, achieving recovery rates that attracted international attention from medical professionals seeking more effective healing solutions. The unit's success led to expansion throughout the hospital system and replication at medical centers globally. The protocol standardization that makes biblical medicine clinically viable involves precise prescription guidelines that specify which psalms to use for different conditions, optimal application schedules, and measurable outcome criteria that enable scientific evaluation of spiritual healing effectiveness. Medical staff receive training in psalm therapy administration, including proper pronunciation of Hebrew words, faith activation techniques, and patient education methods that maximize healing potential. The standardized protocols ensure consistent results while enabling replication across different medical facilities and healthcare systems. The insurance coverage revolution that followed documented psalm therapy success includes major healthcare providers approving biblical healing protocols as cost-effective treatments that reduce overall medical expenses while improving patient outcomes. Insurance companies recognize that patients using psalm therapy require fewer pharmaceutical interventions, shorter hospital stays, and reduced long-term care costs compared to conventional treatment groups. The economic benefits of biblical healing have motivated healthcare systems to invest in spiritual medicine training and implementation, despite initial skepticism from traditional medical professionals. The medical education transformation includes integration of biblical healing principles into medical school curricula, residency training programs, and continuing education requirements for practicing physicians who seek to provide comprehensive care that addresses spiritual and physical healing needs. Medical students learn to evaluate patients' spiritual resources alongside physical symptoms, recognizing that spiritual health significantly impacts healing outcomes and long-term wellness. The educational integration ensures that future healthcare providers understand the scientific basis for biblical healing while maintaining respect for patients' diverse spiritual backgrounds. The research expansion that validates biblical medicine includes ongoing studies at major medical centers documenting psalm therapy effectiveness for conditions ranging from cancer and heart disease to mental illness and autoimmune disorders. The research protocols meet rigorous scientific standards while acknowledging spiritual components that cannot be measured through conventional instruments but produce objective results that medical professionals cannot ignore. The growing body of evidence supporting biblical healing has motivated increased funding for spiritual medicine research and development of more sophisticated measurement tools for documenting spiritual healing mechanisms. The global implementation of biblical medicine includes international medical missions that combine conventional healthcare with psalm therapy training, enabling healthcare providers in developing regions to offer effective treatments without requiring expensive pharmaceutical interventions or advanced medical equipment. The simplicity and effectiveness of biblical healing make it ideal for resource-limited settings where conventional medical care is unavailable or unaffordable. The global expansion demonstrates that spiritual healing transcends cultural and economic barriers while providing hope for populations who previously lacked access to effective healthcare solutions.